Okay, I think we can get started. Just a second. I mean, we are also doing this for the first time with Zoom. I have no clue why this video is zooming on my face so deep. But anyways, okay. Thanks everyone for joining. I mean, I know it is Sunday. I mean, you could have just enjoyed the time, but you choose to spend your precious 2 hours here to discuss or at least to understand about what is happening with AI and stuff like that. So I really appreciate that. And with that said, usually I'm not really sure if you've been in one of my previous sessions. I also see many of my Rabobank colleagues have been joining here as well. I like to keep my sessions more interactive. So that said, we have quite a lot of participants here. So let's try to keep it interactive. But how do we want to do it? We want to do it. Oh, sorry, the audio is not audible.
It is audible.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I
Maybe
think
you
it works for
can.
Tommy. It works for Yuri. I'm not really sure. B, that's what I see here. You say the audio doesn't work for me. Yeah, please try to rejoin B. Maybe I think it could be something from your end, but I think for others, seems it works. Okay. Yeah. So what was I saying? So let's try to keep it interactive. So for that, let's try to use the chat option which we have. I mean, I know it's after lunch. Usually on the weekends after lunch, I prefer to sleep. So I also want you guys to be a little bit, you know, aware and awake because we don't want to waste either one's of time. So because whatever the time we are going to invest here, let's try to make it productive and more useful and efficient. So with that said, I'm gonna usually throw some questions out you. Put your answers in the chat. Don't shy because this technology, whatever we're going to discuss today, is new for everyone. It's new for you. It's new for me. It's new for people out there because it's evolving. It's being developed with a rapid pace. So no one is keeping up to speed. So whatever the definition you have in your mind about what we're going to discuss, whatever the assumptions you have, I mean, you might have heard the definition of this is maybe this, or you might have read it somewhere, or you might have worked on it. So it doesn't matter. So please put it in the chat because it's also learning for me. It's also learning for others in the group as well. And then we will also build our session based on that. Hopefully that works with everyone. I also see that people who have joined here are also from different backgrounds. So I see if you are from non-tech background, if you are really from fully tech background who have been working in tech from quite some time, like with full stack or in data engineering or data analysis fields. So it's also equally important that we take all these personas into account because this technology, I think it's changing every domain, tech, non-tech, coding, non-coding. It doesn't really matter. And before getting started, I see that today it's Mother's Day. So I also wish, happy Mother's Day. I mean, yeah, without them, we are nothing, right? And things are really changing out there. I mean, yeah, uh, things like war, things like, poverty and layoffs. So from my end, why am I doing this? I think in a way, this is my sort of contribution towards the community because I know how it feels. Especially we are in IT, and if you have to survive in this domain, you have to keep up with the technology. And yeah, this thing is inevitable. Sorry to say that, but I think the only way to survive is to know things what's happening out there. So with that said, let's get started. I'm going to quickly share my screen and let me know if you're able to see my screen. Yeah, we use chat for all our communication. So you can just give me a thumbs up, or you can just say yes, you can say no, you can say I can't hear. Anything is fine. Okay, you said yes, that's good. And what we're going to do here today is let's take a few steps back and try to understand how it all started. I mean, at least after today's session, you shouldn't be new to few keywords like what is autonomous agent. Okay, the screen is small, someone says. I'm gonna zoom in. Don't worry. I'm gonna zoom in like this so that you have it pretty clear. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. At least by the end of this session, um, it should be clear for you about the topics like autonomous agents, coding agents. What does it mean? How you can use it if possible? What are the security components which you need to take into account or keep in mind? Things like that. But to understand where we are right now, let's take a couple of steps back and try to see the developments which have happened over the course, right? Okay. So if I have to start this, I mean, in the last 70 years, technology has changed quite quickly, I would say. Maybe last 3, 5 years, it was with advanced pace. But if you look at this, the traditional machine learning language was in the era of 1950 to 2010. And that is where, if you remember your Gmail, right, you have this spam folder. I think Google is still following this old traditional technology where it automatically recognizes whether it's a spam email or an important email. If it is an important email, you know that it ends up in your inbox. But if it's a spam, it automatically ends up in your spam folder. And this was already there before all these LLMs, AI, Gen AI, regression, classification, what are the models which we're talking right now, or neural networks. So this was already there, right? So that was like the first era. And then we had this deep learning where we started doing a little bit of training, right? Sending some raw input and sending it through some neural network and then getting some output. Let's say you feed the data to the system, the training data, you feed the data to the system, and then based on all the parameters, you ask the system or you ask the machine that whether it's going to rain today or not, right? Things like weather forecasting. So they basically work based on all the parameters. Like, they check all the different parameters, they collect the data from Earth, and based on that, they try to predict whether it's going to be a rainy day or a sunny day, things like that. So that's also a traditional classification model. There is also a regression model, right? This is also something not new. It was already there. But if you look at transformers and tokens, this is called era 3. This was in the span of 2017 to 2020, where you have all the input texts have been split into tokens, right? So you add some text saying like hello world, but then that gets split into different tokens. Like hello is world token, world is another token, and then it goes through an embedding system, and then finally it predicts the next token or the next word, right? We also don't have to get into the details of this. It's good to know, right? And then we enter into the phase of large language models. And this is in the year of 2020, 2022. I think this is where things went crazy. I mean, this is the era where the Chat GPT went viral. Everyone started using it. Yeah, the entire internet was talking about Chat GPT. You, me, we all started using it. So what basically happened is they have come up with this GPT, right? And they have already trained these previous models. Like, we are already talking about these neural network models. They've already trained on such models with large data sets, and exposed it to the users, right? With some simple user interface, like, Chat GPT, just an user interface, but there is an LLM model behind that. And then you have a generative AI, and this is where it also generates the words based on the inputs which you provide, right? You have a user prompt, then you feed it to a generative AI, and then it can generate a text for you or image for you, audio, video, code. This is also something we've been seeing, right? And this is era 5, generative AI, in the year 2022, 2023. Not that old, like, 2, 3 years before. And these are the examples, DAL-E, GPT-4, Cloud, this was there. But now, not even now, I think the tool calling the MCP is something which was also there in the year of 2023, 2024. So the generative AI model was only generating new text. For example, if you ask it to write an essay on Albert Einstein, it can basically go through all the training data set. It can write a nice essay for Albert Einstein, or based on the data which has been trained on it, right? So it can write an essay on Albert Einstein. It can write essays on any topics which you want it to write. So it can generate new text based on the training data set. But let's say it cannot do things for you, right? So that's where the tooling comes into place. So here, they've taken one step ahead. So I don't want it to generate any new text or anything. I want it to do things for me. like real actions, right? Like verbs, like real actions. For instance, an example could be that book me a flight, order me something on Amazon.nl, right? And send an email to someone on my behalf with this summary. So to do that, you need to provide a tool, right? You need to provide a tool for that. And this is where the era 6, 2023, 2024, that whole year we was talking about function calling, tool calling, and for each and every action we were creating APIs, right? And those APIs, I mean, if you come from tech background, you know how these APIs work, because when you want to call an API, you need to pass some request parameters, right? A post method, and basically it does things for you on your behalf. So the LLM model was calling these API calls. It could be a search API, payment API, email API, calendar API, and this list goes on, right? Because these APIs, you develop them for which action you want to do, you develop an API for it. Okay. In this case, if you want to book a flight, then you need to call 4 to 5 APIs, because you need to know which flight I want to book. You need to have a search API. Then you need to make the payment. You need to have another API, and then you need to get an email confirmation once the flight is booked. And then it needs to be also added in your calendar so that your agenda is also booked that you have a flight on X day or Y day, right? Then you have another thing called AI agents. So after this function calling, tool calling era has ended, we've entered into a new era, which is called AI agents. So this was in the year 24, 25. We are talking about last year's stuff. So what does this mean? This takes one step ahead, right? This takes one step more. So here you are asking it. So even in this step, what you need to say is you need to explicitly tell the model to book me a flight for India, or to book me a flight for Switzerland, right? You need to give an explicit instructions to that. But let's say I don't even want to do that. So here also you need to interact with that, because when you're creating these APIs, right? Search API for searching the flights, you also need to dedicatedly create these APIs connecting to specific websites, or else it doesn't know where to call or which API to trigger. But when it comes to AI agents, you can also be a little bit vague in here. You can just say that, okay, plan my trip, and then it breaks your plan into certain steps, right? Okay, if you want to plan a trip, then what you need to first pack your bags, right? And you need to have the budget for your travel, and then you need to know the flights are available or not, and then you need to book the hotels, then you need to book the car or cab, and then you need to book the sightseeings. So it doesn't end with just booking a flight, right? So we are taking one step back, and we are also asking that plan me a trip to Dubai, plan me a trip to Switzerland. So then what it does is, based on, again, all the information it finds, it basically plans everything for you and then starts acting based on that. Then it can create multiple things for you, right? It can book tickets of flights, tickets of hotels, things like that. So that's the era of AI agents we are talking. But then there is one more thing, which is the current era, and it's called self-improving agents. So what does this mean? So here it is breaking things based on your request, right? And for each and everything, it needs tools, it needs skills, it needs plugins. We're going to, of course, discuss them in detail. Don't worry about that. But it needs a predefined list of components to work with. But when it comes to self-improving agents, this basically improves based on the number of iterations, right? So one simple example could be that, okay, you asked it to book a trip to Dubai, and it booked a trip to Dubai. And then based on your Dubai's experience, you're going to give a feedback to your agent saying that, okay, you did book a trip to Dubai, and you did book all these things, like you booked Burj Khalifa or desert safari ride, you did this, you did this, you did this, but my experience on all these things was not really pleasant, because I found problem here, I found problem here, I found problem here. So if you try to give continuous feedback to this based on your outcome, it tries to improve, and the second time when you ask it to book something like that, it also takes that into account, acts based on that. So this is just an example where I gave you a booking example, but if you think the same example, or if you try to apply the same example for your coding tasks, or for your LinkedIn outreach, or let's say you're trying to apply for jobs out there in LinkedIn, and you have to reach out to 10 to 20 applications, right? You have created a CV and you are sending that CV to 20 open positions, and all of them are rejecting you, right? Saying that, okay, the CV which you have shared, it doesn't meet our requirement, right? Because either you need to improve your CV or you need to improve your own skills. So based on the feedback, then you also send the feedback to your agent saying that, okay, the recruiters are rejecting me based on this feedback. Can you also recreate another CV so that it matches with the job description or it matches with the requirement what they are looking for? So this could be another example, right? So you need to think of different use cases. I'm just thinking out loud to explain you at this moment, but this is more or less how the self-improving agents work. Based on all the information, based on the time you spend with these agents, it tries to learn about your own behavior. I hope it makes sense. So this is self-improving agents, and right now we are at this era so far, but this development is not going to stop here, right? I think things are going to still change. But if you ask me, this is where we are right now. Okay. And if I have to take one step back again, so usually whenever I try to explain about AI agents, I always take this human body analogy uh, to compare it with an AI agent or agentic workflow to make it simple. So if you look at this human body, right, like more or less the ecosystem of human body. So we have our own brain, right, and we use the brain to think, to reason, to decide. Okay, so let's say we have a new baby born, and the baby has a brain, and slowly the baby grows, right, and then we we put him into the school, and then slowly he or she starts training, learning. It could be in school, it could be in college, it could be in company. So that is where he or she starts learning. He or she starts gaining knowledge, right, improving stuff. And then with all the training and learning, the brain also develops, right? We all know that because that's how our brains got developed. And then with that information, we also learn the language and stuff like that. We start talking to people. That's called conversation. And then with proper information, we try to eat good food and we try to build immune system, right? That's like a defense from threats, like from virus, from bacteria. And then if you're working, or if you're entering an office, or if you're entering an office, or if you're entering a company, or if you're entering someone's house, you need permission, you need access. That is also something you need to keep in your mind, that okay, if I want to enter the company, I need to have my badge or my permission. So we also try to maintain our boundaries, right? Because everyone has a permissible boundaries, so he cannot exceed that permissible boundaries. There are rules and regulations, laws in the society. You can't exceed them, right? I think this is something we all know. And then you have heart, values, your concise, your personality. And then we have mouth, like I'm speaking, so I have mouth, I'm speaking. And then you also have mouth, you can respond back. We have hands to do things, right? Because brain is something which gives us signals, but at the end of the day, the physical activities needs to be done through our hands. And then we also have memory, right? We have short-term memory, we have long-term memory. Maybe after 2 hours of this session, some might remember what I said, some might not remember. It totally depends on how you want to keep your memory, right? Short-term, long-term, and how focused you are. And then we have our eyes and ears to see the world and to hear the world. And then sometimes we also make notes in our books, right? For instance, I'm not really sure if anyone is making notes out there, but I would definitely recommend making some notes, so that that will be your mental image, whatever I'm saying. If you make some notes, you'll keep in your mind for a longer period. But anyways, so notes and books, we try to keep them. If we want to set up the same system similar to human body for the AI, how do we do it, right? I also have an image for that. I'm going to go slowly towards the left. So here, so you need to think an LLM model. So what is LLM again, people? I'm not really sure if you're still listening or sleeping. If you can put it in the chat, type it in the chat. LLM, full form of LLM. Yes, large language models. Yeah. Does anyone does not agree with that? Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Large language model. Perfect. So I see that 4 people are not sleeping for sure. Thank you so much. So the LLM model is basically the brain, right? Yes. Yeah, even S is also fine, or thumbs up is also fine on the existing things, so that I know that you are listening, so that it gives me energy to speak, you know. Um, trust me that I was actually preparing for this and I couldn't sleep in the night. You can see my eyes are a little bit red, but I'm still keeping up my pace to share you as much as information I know. Yes. Thank you so much, guys. So LLM is a large language model and it is the brain. Okay. So try to think, create a mental image in your mind, because if you try to create a mental image of this image in your mind, you will never forget the concepts what we are discussing here. And these concepts are like, foundational fundamentals we need to go and to basically to build systems like this. We're going to use all these tools, in practice right now. But to use these tools, you need to have very basic mental image understanding of this flow. So if you get this one diagram right, I think you're good to go, right? So this is really important. So I just need 5 minutes of your focus time here. So LLM model is the brain. Okay, it's the brain. And with just the brain, you cannot do anything, right? Even for humans, with just the brain, we cannot do anything. We need hands, we need legs, we need mouth, we need all the sense organs to talk, to listen, to smell, to feel, right? So we need everything. Brain is good, but that's basically the main central processing unit for our body. The similar way, for an AI agent, right? We are talking about an AI agent. For an AI agent, LLM is like the brain, right? Whenever you are having discussions with someone in your company or outside the company or anywhere, if someone says LLM is an AI agent, it's part of an AI agent. LLM is just a model. It's just a brain, okay? And then if one LLM model want to communicate to another LLM model, if one want to have a conversation with another, you need to have a protocol, and that is what we call A to A protocol. That's called agent to agent communication, right? One AI agent wants to communicate with another AI agent. So that's A to A communication. For us, it's conversation. For them, it's A to A communication. And then if it wants to, like, it also has security, right? It has guardrails, prompt injections, defense, and everything. So how many of you know what is SQL injection? I think you might have already heard about something called SQL injection when you're working in IT, especially with, yes, I see B, you mentioned that you know what's, yes, SQL injection, right? In the similar fashion, for AIs, there is something called prompt injection. I'm going to also show you an example how that looks and how it is important to be aware about this prompt injection when you're working with AI agents, right? So security is really important, guys. And okay, I think someone went unmute. I'm gonna mute you. Sorry. Why cannot I mute? Asha, is it possible to mute Malatesh?
No, I think
Okay,
it's
maybe we
not
can
connected
ask to
to
mute, I guess, right? Okay. Okay. Malatesh, I'm not sure if you're listening. If it's possible to mute yourself so that we don't have a disturbance here. Thank you.
It's already muted from my end.
Okay. I think something went wrong there, I guess. But anyways, no worries. As long as there is silence, we are okay with that. um, yeah. So we are talking about security guardrails, right? And then it's also important about permissions, authorization scopes and stuff like that. So this is where it needs to have permissions to do certain things. It needs to have permission. It's like an ID card. If I don't have a badge, if I don't have an ID, I cannot enter. The same way, permissions and auths and scopes, these are really important for an AI agent to also do or not to do certain things. And then system prompt is like the value, like, whenever you're building an agent, you can give an identity to an agent. You can say that, okay, you are a coding agent, you are a testing agent, you are an architect agent, or you are an email agent, or you are an LinkedIn outreach agent. So it can be anything. So you need to define the identity for this agent so that it keeps that in mind whenever you're prompting something, it takes that into account. And then output layers, we know that text, speech, images, tools, MCP, API, functions. This is really important, right? When we saw in the era of AI developments, we saw that how function calling, tool calling, how MCPs have completely changed the advancements and the game of this AI developments, right? So this is really important. And then context window uh, is also important, but I'm going to explain this with an example so that it's also easy for you to know. Because nowadays, if you've been already using AI tools, so if it is okay, what kind of AI tools you've used, if you can put it in the chat so that it's also easy for me to understand the level of your understanding, like ChatGPT, Cloud Code, CloudWork, or Codex, or PyAgent, or OpenClaw, Lovable, that's good. Gemini, that's good. Grok, that's good. Codex, Cloud, ChatGPT, Cloud Code, GitHub Copilot. Tommy, you know everything. What are you doing in this session, Tommy? You don't need this. Kailash, DAL-E, Gemini, GPT, Copilot. Yeah, see, I think DeepSeek. Yeah, Pi. This is amazing. So if you look at all these agents, you must have already noticed there, bottom right down somewhere. I mean, I don't know how the interface they have developed. So you already have a small icon where it says your context window, right? Your tokens, like your input tokens, your output tokens, and your total tokens, how many tokens you've been using for that specific session or chat or prompt, right? So the AI costs are totally based on the number of tokens you're using and the context window, which is allocated for you based on the subscription and the model you're using. But we will also see that a little bit. And then you have input layer like vision, audio, text, and RAG. So RAG is also an important concept, right? Why RAG is an important concept. So if you remember initial days when ChatGPT was all getting viral in the year of 2020, 2022, there was this issue that it had, that it could not give you responses for questions like what is the current temperature, who is the current president, or things on the latest information, because it used to say that my knowledge training data set was cut off for September 2021 or 2022 or 2020, saying that, okay, my model or myself, the model itself has been trained only with a specified data set. If you ask any question outside the data set, it cannot give you response. It cannot answer your question. It cannot do things for you, right? And back then, the web search was also not enabled. The tooling, the function calling, the MCPs were also not enabled. But then what people started doing is they started feeding that model with something called knowledge base, with something called RAG, like feeding PDFs and getting information, in-house information, and things like that. So now maybe a question that if you want to implement an AI agent or agentic workflow or a chat bot in your own organization, right? And every organization has their own policies. They have their own ins, outs, documents, everything, right? Because I come from Rabobank and we have huge set of policies and governance, compliance, everything specific to Rabobank. And if I ask any question related to that, to any of these open source models or closed ones or paid ones, specific internal details it cannot share which are not on the public domain. Whatever the information which is already there on the internet or public domain, it can give me. But specific information which is related to the company, the model cannot respond, right? We all know that. And to do that, people are building RAG based systems. So, what does it mean? We will see that. There is a little bit of description which I've added for that. So, that's what RAG. But if I have to put it in a human analogy, it's basically like me making some notes, right? Me making some notes, because my brain already has some information, but something else I'm getting on the fly and I'm making notes of that. And if someone asks me a question, what I'm going to do is I'm going to also read my notes and I'm going to also get it from here. So it's a combination of my notes and from my brain, I'm going to respond back. So RAG is nothing but like, fetching information which is put on the notes or books when you're like, developing it. Hope this is clear. And now we're going to get into details of all these components a little bit, but don't worry. Okay. Thank you so much, Yuri. Um, what we're going to do now is maybe let's so one other problem what I have is if I start, I don't know when to stop. So that is also the reason I asked explicitly Asha to give me a timeout, because 2 hours is a very lengthy session. So maybe we take break in between for coffee or just to stretch our legs. So we're going to do that. And one other interesting thing is we're also try to build a live uh, application with the tools which are right now available for us, and we'll let it run and then we take a break. Maybe in next 20 minutes we go for a break. I hope that is fine with you, but you relax because anyways your camera is off, so we can relax and hear, but I really need your focus, and that's it. And now coming to the RAG part, uh, what do we need in the system for that? Oh, nothing, Padma. I think we're gonna do it in my system, but once it is done, I'm gonna push the code to GitHub, and you can access that from GitHub. For now, you don't need anything, but if you can make some notes, anyways, the session is also being recorded. You can also rewatch on this session how we are doing it, so that when you want to do it by yourself, you have a reference. So for now, you just relax and focus. That's it. You need nothing. Starting with RAG, right? So RAG is a retrieval augmented generation. So just an example to explain. I made this one. This again, I used, of course, AI to come up with these examples as well. So, for example, let's say that you went to a restaurant and you asked the chef that what's today in lasagna. Okay, so there are three ways that he can share you this information. The first one, he can say that he can answer based on his memory, saying that okay, this is what we have in today's lasagna. It could be correct, it could be wrong, because he does not have the latest information. And the option two is he can go to the kitchen, read for today's recipe card, and then answer. Because if it is today's recipe, it's already written somewhere in the kitchen notes, right? He can go there, he can read it, he can tell you. And option three is he can also go back to the culinary school and then he can learn about the latest way of making lasagna. But then that is also slow and expensive process. But if you try to compare this one, right? So the option one is like the data set was trained with that data where he does not have the latest information. It does not know what is the recipe for latest lasagna to make, right? So that is why what we do is there are two ways what you can do is you can fine tune the existing LLM model. You can fine tune it. What does it mean? Let's say there is already a base LLM model. So you can take that one. There are also so many open source LLM models out there. You can take any one of them like Gemma 4 or Chinese models like, DeepSeek, Quen models, or GPT OSS models. So there are quite few models out there which are also really good, right? So you can take any one of the model and then you can feed your company's information to that, and then you can fine tune it. So now you have a base model and then you have your company's data, you are fine tuning, then it becomes a custom LLM model which was trained by you. Perfect. So that works for you, right? So then you use that model in your organization uh, for your use cases, like, for fetching data or for doing any other things. But the thing with that is you need a good compute system, right? And you need good competency. You need to know how to do it, first thing. The second thing is you need to have a very good compute system. And it's also an expensive process. Why it is expensive process? Because, you need to buy compute. And then you need to also buy storage because you need to store this data, right? Because we are talking about really huge data sets. And the easy and the fastest way to do this is via RAG approach. And what is RAG approach? It's very simple and straightforward. I mean, if I open Chat GPT, for instance, in this case, I'm not sure if I can open it. Okay, so I can literally attach a file or a photo, and then I can ask questions based on that. So whenever I attach a file, let's say I attach a PDF file or attach an Excel file. Maybe let's see if I have an Excel file. Okay, I have an Excel file. So I'm going to attach this Excel file here. So give me the summary, right, of the file attached. So this is basically a dummy sales data, which is in Excel format. I've just attached it, and now I'm asking a question or a prompt saying that just give me the summary of the file which I've attached. So this is something we have all done, right? So this is not fancy. But what I'm basically trying to say here is, whenever you attach something to the system like this, so this is your prompt, and this is your input data, and it takes your input data and your prompt together as a prompt and then sends it to the LLM system. So now what it is going to do is it is going to take these two as an input prompt, your input data plus your prompt, and based on that, it is going to send it to the cloud base model, whichever the model, I think it's a GPT 5 or 5.4, and then based on that, it is going to give you the response. So this is just a simple, straightforward RAG application which we have seen, right? But this is something we cannot do in our own companies because we are talking about our own confidential in-house data, right? Because that is not allowed for various reasons. We know that. And how can we do that? So you can also set up a local LLM model, and you can also set up a RAG based approach, because you also don't want to do this manually every time attaching an Excel file or PDF file and things like that, right? So for that, what you can do is, I think there should be an example for me. Yeah, this one. Hope this is visible. Yeah, if you look at this approach, right, just try to understand and try to get the flow. So you have a user, and the user is sending a query. So let's say without any system, you can just directly query the LLM model, right? But let's say you have different data sources, right? In this case, we are not talking about fine tuning. We're literally talking about RAG approach. So what you do is you have your generative model sitting somewhere here, okay? And then you need to feed your input prompt. So usually what you can do, you can directly send your input prompt here. If I can get this one. So you can directly send your input prompt here. But in this case, I also want to use my in-house company data. So in that case, what you can do is you can set up a RAG system where whatever the input files you have, I'm again talking about SharePoints, Confluence links, PDF documents, Excel sheets, PowerPoints, right? It could be anything. And all that data should be vectorized, right? And why do we want to vectorize the data? Again, this is also where we're going to discuss about context size and the number of tokens, because if you don't vectorize them, one thing, you are again making the huge cost for your LLM model, right? And the second thing is also the performance, right? Because in this case, it was a very small file, and it gave a response real quick. I mean, still it took a couple of seconds. But just imagine that you have, hundreds and thousands of these files, and you want to feed them, and based on that, you want to get the response, right? So practically, that is not possible, and it also takes a lot of performance. It takes a lot of time, which means it's also an expensive process. So in that case, what you basically do is you set up an embedding system. Again, there is an embedding model, and then you store all the data in vector DB in the form of a vector, right? And then whenever you send a question, all the vectorized data is also sent, right, based on your input prompt uh, to the generative model, and based on that, it gives you a response back. So this is how you can set up a RAG based approach. And there are also different ways how you can do it, right? This is just an example, but there are also different ways how you can do it. But what is more important to understand here is, I'm not really sure how practical nowadays the RAG approach is, because nowadays I don't really see much of an use case for RAG systems, but maybe in few companies they might need it, right? But it's really good to know what is RAG and how things work with RAG. Like I mentioned, that LLMs have three big problems, right? A knowledge cutoff, does not know what happened last week. No private data, because it's within your company, and if it does not know what you are asking, sometimes it hallucinates because it wants to give you a response. So it gives you a fabricated answer. It gives you a hallucinated information. So that is where RAG can help you to fix the problem. Okay, and then let's try to understand a little bit on this MCP part. So MCP is a model context protocol, right? And why we got MCP in first place? Okay, so one thing for me which fascinates is whenever there is a new technology, it is always there to solve some existing problem, right? Okay, so we've got LLMs because there might be a problem. Of course, there is a problem, right? And then it was only responding. We also wanted it to do things, and then we started implementing, tools and MCPs because it was not doing anything, and we wanted it to do certain things. So we implemented MCP, and we also wanted our agent to communicate with another agent, right? There need to be a protocol. So, what kind of protocols are you aware of? Like maybe HTTP. HTTP is a protocol, right? HTTPS is a protocol, and MCP is also a protocol. So, if you look at MCP protocol, there is a dedicated site for this. Yeah, TCP is also a protocol. Nice. Yeah. And if you look at this MCP website, yeah, TCP, UCP. Thank you. So you can check model context protocol.io. So again, this is coming from the community, right? So this is again an open framework, an open protocol designed by a couple of experts, so that whenever an agent wants to communicate with another agent, they wanted to keep a universal protocol like TCP, like UDP, right? Like HTTP, like HTTPS. But today's session is not getting too details into all those things. But what is really important to understand is now there is a new protocol in the market, which is called MCP. As simple as that, because you already know few protocols, and try to add another protocol in your list of understandings, which is called MCP. Okay. So if you want to build an MCP server or an MCP service, how to do it? There are again list of instructions how you can do it. But let me go back to the class again. So here, what does an MCP mean, right? Again, if you remember in the flight booking use case, or in the flight booking example which we discussed, I wanted to book a flight, and I asked my agent. So in the chat interface, I asked it, so please go and book a flight. And then the agent is calling an API, right? And that API is connecting to a website. And that website is giving the list of all the flights, all the prices, all the dates, and everything. So this agent connecting to the website, there should be a protocol, right? There should be a protocol. And for example, if Claude, again, I see that many of you have used Claude, many of you have used GPT, many of you used Gemini. So there are different players in the market, right? So if Claude decides to make a specific protocol, and GPT decides to make a specific protocol, or decides to make a specific protocol, then every company decides to make a specific protocol, then we cannot work with that ecosystem, right? So in this case, I mean, if you're again coming from an engineering or a software background, you already know that if a company wants to connect with company B, they connect via APIs, right? For example, um, if an application is there, and that application wants to connect to a banking application to get all the data from that banking application, exactly like we had before with the browsers, that exactly, Yuri. So if an application wants to connect with a banking application to get all the data, the banking application has to expose endpoints, right? It has to expose APIs. So it needs to expose some get methods, some post methods, some put methods, some, again, of course, they won't expose delete methods, by the way. So there are certain CRUD operations which you can do through API calls, right? So this bank has to expose these APIs so that the users or the clients or the companies who wants to get the data from this bank can use this API. So let's say bank A is exposing some APIs, bank B is exposing different set of APIs, bank C is exposing different set of. So if every bank decides to expose their own set of APIs in their own format, these agents will not understand the signature of this API definition, right? So that is why they have agreed there that, okay, guys, let's create a common framework or common protocol so that agent can understand what your company information is out there. So if I want to connect to a Gmail, so there should be an MCP for Gmail, right? If I want to connect to Slack channel, there should be an MCP for Slack. If I want to connect to Salesforce, there should be an MCP endpoint for Salesforce. If I want to connect to SAP, there should be an MCP endpoint for SAP. That list never ends, right? So forth, it keeps on going. For example, if I open cloud, right? Let me open cloud just for your understanding. I hope it is visible. So if I go to cloud cowork, right? I know, I think many of you, I saw that people, few of you already used it. So if I click on this things, there are certain things. There is a skill, there is a connector, there are plugins. So for now, skill, let's skip it. We're going to come to that topic in a bit. But if you look at connectors, right? If I click on manage connectors or maybe add connectors. So connectors are nothing but MCPs, right? It's just a different terminology, but connectors are MCPs in this case. So if I want to connect my cloud agent to any of these applications, I can just add them and authenticate with them, right? For example, if I want to connect it to my Gmail, so I just click on this, and then there is an authentication process because I need to give access to my cloud to my Gmail application. And then once that authentication is done, I can literally use my cloud cowork or my chat interface to send emails, to read emails, to summarize. Let's say I've gone to a vacation for 2 weeks, and then I come back and I see like hundreds of emails are already there because my colleagues are so interested about my vacation. No, because they wanted response from me, but I was on vacation. They were not aware of it. So then they were sending me messages. They're like 200 emails, and I come back after 2 weeks. And now I open my Gmail. I see like 200 emails in my inbox. If I want to go one by one, of course it takes time, and of course that's what I should do, right? Because I gotta respect each and every email. I have to give equal importance. But let's say there might be also some unimportant, less priority, less urgent emails as well. I don't know which one or which. What I can do is I can ask my cloud saying that, okay, go through all my 100 emails and just give me a short summary, and also highlight which are important, which are not important based on my history. It can also do that, right? Maybe it can get at least 80% accurate. So at least then I already get a gist of all the emails. So that can be one of the use case, right? And then it can send emails. Let's say I want to send emails to 50 people. 200 emails for 2 weeks is very little. I can totally agree with you. So I want to send emails for 50 people, right? And in that case, I don't want to write email to each and every one after another. I can also customize emails per user, per region, and I also can ask my cloud to do that. So this is just one of the use cases. And Canva is something which I extensively use. I'm not sure if you know what Canva is. Canva is basically used for creating, posters, designs, YouTube thumbnails, everything, right? It's like you can also do PowerPoint presentations, everything you can do using Canva. So to create content on Canva, sometimes I use Cloud because you see it's already configured to my Canva. So if I try to create some nice description content from my Cloud agent to Canva, it can already create because it's already connected to my Canva. So this is just an example. So if you look at this list, it's big, right? But now the question is, who is creating this MCP service? Is it cloud or is it, for example, Datadog? So in this case, who is creating this MCP service? Is it cloud company or Datadog company? Any guess, guys? For example, here, let's say Figma. So Figma, there is one MCP service. So who created this? Yeah, exactly, Datadog, right? Of course, this is no promotion to Datadog, but I'm just taking it as an example. Of course, it is the provider. Exactly. You're right, Casey. So if you have your own company and if you are having your own SaaS company, let's say, which is responsible for any specific thing, and you want an AI agent to interact with your company, so it is your responsibility to create an MCP service and publish them to Claude, publish them to OpenAI, publish them to Gemini or Google Cloud. So it is your responsibility to publish them there. So to do that, there is a form which you need to fill in, and then someone from Claude will again audit all the information just to make sure that okay, it is coming from the right company, and then they will show it here, and then users can connect to it. Yeah. So these are MCPs, right? That's what we were discussing, and Yeah, I'm gonna skip all this, but I think we understood. So let's say there could also be an MCP for database, right? Because I'm not sure if we have any data analysts here or data engineers here in the session, but usually half of the time as a data engineer or a data analyst, it is also our responsibility to go to the database, write the queries, make certain joins, left join, right join, inner joins, all the complex joins with where conditions, with yeah. So all that stuff we do it to fetch some data from all these tables, all these data models like dimensions, facts, and all that stuff to find some insights on this data, right? It could be, I mean, of course, we are talking about analytical databases, not the transactional ones. But what if I say that I don't even want to or need to write a SQL query? I can just get this data in plain English. And that is possible today, right? Not today. It was already possible like 2 years before. But now each database is also exposing an MCP service. MySQL exposes its own MCP service. PostgreSQL exposes its own MCP service. Again, all the different databases, right? Redis, Azure, Amazon, all the databases out there are also exposing their own MCP service so that your AI agent or your client AI agent can connect to the database and with simple English, you can fetch all the data. Yeah. And let's say that, okay, Vinod, so you're saying that all these companies are also exposing their MCP service, but let's say I have a very custom use case. I have a very custom application which is built in-house in my company. Now I want AI agent to interact to that application. What should I do? Build your own custom MCP service. And how to do that? You see, this go to modelcontextprotocol.io and just try to first understand a little bit about what MCP. I think by now MCP is clear for you. It's just a protocol, ins and outs. You don't care. And then if you come here to build an MCP server, you need three things, right? You need resource, you need tools because it needs to call certain function calling tools, and it also needs a little bit of prompts like pre-written templates, right? And you say that, okay, I'm not a programmer and I don't know how to build it. No worries, we have coding agents. We can use those coding agents to build MCP service like in 10-15 minutes. You don't need to know anything about this, right? So that is how you can also build your own custom MCP service if you have custom applications in your organization, like legacy old custom applications. If you have, you can use this approach so that the application still remains there. You are not replacing it, but you are enabling it to connect to your AI agent to communicate and fetch the data. Okay, so that's what MCP is. But then, what are skills? We discussed what is RAG, and we also know why RAG came into a picture, right? Because there was a shortcoming. That's why people introduced RAG. And then I'm going to come back to that n8n.io in a bit, Jagannath. So then we wanted agents to do certain things for us. Then tools were introduced. And then we have something interesting, which are called skills. So skills are README files with some instructions, as I understood. You are 100% right. No doubt. That is the simplest definition you can give out there. It's just a README file. But this README file can differ, right? An Excel skill, an Excel README file can be different than a PDF README file. A PDF README file can be different than PowerPoint README file. So for every specific application or a component, there will be a specific skill. That is the only difference. But rest skills are more or less like a README file. So for example, what I wanted to show. Okay, so this is actually big one. We don't want to get into all this stuff. So skills are basically like, like what Yuri mentioned. It's also like, expertise you are giving your AI agent, right? So what does it mean? It means that, so what is the difference between tools and skills, right? If you understand the difference between tools and skills, then I think you would understand what are skills in general. Tools are basically used for making certain actions. But for skills, it needs certain expertise to do certain tasks. So what does it mean? It means that, for example, how do I make my agent good at sushi, right? So one thing I can ask it to memorize every recipe. If you ask it to memorize every recipe, then you're wasting the context. Second, give sushi cookbook, right? You can give, okay, so this is the book. So take this book, and this book has all the instructions for sushi. That is another approach. And option three is, again, send him back to school to learn and come back how to do sushi. So if you send him back to school, that's basically like, fine tuning. And we want to avoid this guy, right? At any given point of time, we want to avoid this guy. Why we want to avoid this guy? If people want to do fine tuning, that solves all the problems. You don't need skills, you don't need RAG. If you're just fine tuning everything, you don't need skills, you don't need RAG. But then the problem is, fine tuning is expensive process, and that is why people are trying to find workarounds. When I say people, I mean the community, the AI community. We are trying to find workarounds. Introduced RAG, but now we're also introducing skills, right? So it is in the form of markdown file, and for every specific task, for every specific task, right? You need to keep it in the specific task. The list of instructions differ. And then you create them in the form of skills and give it to the agent. So if I open again my cloud, right? So here you can see there are certain skills, right? There is an option of skills, there is an option of connectors. But let's say if I go to skill and click on manage skills. So these are all the skills which are coming from Anthropic itself. But if I want to, yes, skills are just a specific system prompt. Exactly. Yeah, you're right, Tommy. Where was this cloud code? Yeah. So these are the list of skills which are actually coming from Anthropic. But I'm going to also show you how you can also install custom skills as well. We discussed how you can build custom MCP tools, right? But there are also options where you can develop your own custom skills. That is also possible. Or you can also download them as well out there. But for now, think them as set of instructions to make your agent expert in certain things, right? So keep it in mind so that it can be easy for you to remember. Okay, I'm gonna skip all this, and basically this is how the format looks, but we don't need that. It's basically a markdown file. If I have to go back, so how many of you have already worked with OpenClaw, if I may know? Or at least heard about what OpenClaw is. We're going to see that in live action in a minute, but have you already heard about what OpenClaw is or worked with it? Okay. Yeah. No, heard about OpenClaw, used it in .NET editor. Okay. Okay. I see. Yeah. No, no, no. I only see like, around 10 people responding. Does it mean that the rest of them are sleeping or not listening? Guys, tell me if this session is not interesting. I can make it more interesting. I can throw some jokes out there. No. Okay. Okay. Yeah, because when you try to put a little bit effort on chatting, which means you're also triggering your brain to activate, to come back, because for a second our brain gets so many thoughts, we get distracted here and there. So I really want your focus. Okay, not heard at all. Thank you, Ramesh. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to quickly show you um, if it is running in my system already. I'm not sure if it is running. Claw Hub. Okay, so what is Claw Hub? I will show it, and how it is related to OpenClaw, I will also show it. But what I really wanted to say here in this session is how you can download custom skills, right? So if you come to Claw Hub, so I think you all know what GitHub is. So basically, GitHub is a place where people try to push their code, and someone else can clone it, fork it, or download it, right? It's basically a platform or a repository for code. In the similar way, they've also created something called a Claw Hub when OpenClaw came out there for public. it started supporting skills. It also started supporting custom skills. And then people realized that why don't we build custom skills and also publish them to ClawHub so that others can also download it, right? Again, it's coming from an open source community, right? So if you go to ClawHub, you can see a big list of all the skills here. For each and everything, there is a skill. So again, one of the skill which is famous is a GOG. GOG is a Google Workspace skill. And what this skill does, if you click on that, you can literally read it. Again, so there was also an issue because, whoever were adding the skills here, they were also putting some malicious texts, right? And that is also something called a prompt injection, which I mentioned in the beginning. So that is why for some period, people asked not to download any skills from ClawHub. It got a very bad reputation because you download a skill from here and then you try to use it, and in that list of instructions, somewhere deep down with a small English text, there was like, okay, some curl command or something used to be there which used to give or leak the data from the system to that user, whoever was created this skill. So that is why what they have done is they've also started integrating with a security company. I forgot the name. And what that security company does is basically scans all the skills in real time. So you can, of course, add skill. You as a user can also contribute by adding new skill to this. And the moment you add it, it starts scanning it, and it also gives you whether it's benign or malicious, right? If you see benign, which means you can trust the system, right? Again, of course, I mean, I personally still don't trust it, but yeah, you can trust the system. You can see that there are already 171K downloads and stars, and this is coming from Peter Steinberger. Do you know who Peter Steinberger is? He's basically the creator of OpenClaw, right? And he's been hired by OpenAI, which means now they have a big releases coming by, but that's a different topic. So how you can install these skills is with a simple command line, like, OpenClaw skills install GOG. And when you install this, all this information, these skill.md and everything gets installed in the OpenClaw. We're going to first install the OpenClaw and see how it works so that you will also understand the skills. But if you look at the skills, it's nothing but plain instruction, right? If I click on this skill.md file, I just click on that. You see here, so the name of the skill is GOG, and description, it's just a Google Workspace CLI for Gmail, Calendar, Drive, Contacts, because this is all an offering from Google, right? Because when you have a subscription or when you have Google account, you have Gmail, you have Calendar, you have Drive, you have all these things, right? So what basically this does is it's saying that, okay, do this. It also requires an OAuth setup. It's giving a list of instructions, right? Setup, do it like this. And then the common commands are this. And this is the note. And this is exactly what I think someone already mentioned there. Tommy said or Yuri said, combination, right? Set of instructions. This is the set of instructions. So plain English, right? You can understand, I can understand, the AI agent can understand. But then you can say, Vinod, okay, so this is a simple English skill. Why do I want to download it? I can also copy it, and you can do that, right? You can just copy the skill, modify it according to you, and then use it in your application. No worries. But if you're lazy to do that, copy this prompt and put it in your OpenClaw, and it downloads it from here. As simple as that, right? And like this, you can also create as number of skills needed for your application. So this skill is used for Gmail, but then if you go back to skills, you can see there are a big list of all the skills coming in here. Okay, so these are skills and examples of skills. I see that Asha has given me a heads up that we need to take a break now. But before going to break, I want to do one thing with you because we also want to build the system and it takes a little bit of time. And after break, what we're going to do is we're going to see this setup. Where is this one? Yeah, we're going to see this setup. So Olama, we're going to install Olama and we're going to install a local LLM model. And then we're going to see a little bit of on this coding agents. What are these coding agents and how we can use them? And then we're going to see what is OpenClaw, what is Hermes Agent, what is NemoClaw. And especially NemoClaw is very important when it comes to security, when it comes to organizations, how we can set up OpenClaw in a secured way in enterprise organizations, right? So I think most of your questions will also be answered there. I think this is the next 1 hour is really important, and that is where all the practical application we have. But before even going there, I would like to use your expertise that we can build some application together here. So I'm going to open my cloud. So before building any application, what we need is we need a good idea. And once you have an idea, you need a good design. And using that design, we build a good code behind it, right? So let's start building with a design. But before building a design, we need some nice, crazy idea. So now my question to all of you is, have you got any crazy ideas out there, like any system which you wanted to build, like a simple system, like a simple use case, any system? Please put it in the chat, and let's pick one nice a fancy system from there and use our system or tools on my machine to build it. Yeah, Dutch learning website. Padma, okay. Any other stuff? Simple could be a chatbot is very simple. Let's also challenge ourselves a little bit, right? Because I already have a pro subscription, so let's use it, no worries. So give me a little bit complex, give me a little bit complex. I think Dutch learning website is an option, of course. Job search portal is also a good thing, but what I'm also looking here is a full stack application, right? Not just a website or something, but it can also have a database, it can also have API calls, it can have a full stack application, right? You can literally build. I'm not sure from which companies you're coming from. Multilingual chatbot complex, searching for cheap flight. Yeah, is it possible to make an editor which will generate an image like output for game base minimum prompts? Yeah, we can also do that. Any other crazy ideas out there? Like something you wanted to build, but just because of lack of technical competencies or lack of time or something like that, you couldn't build a Spotify with options to create your own music. Hmm, that sounds interesting. Workspace to manage from phone. Base 44. Yeah. Yeah, we can also do that application like a base 44 where websites can be created. But I was also thinking something unique, right? I mean, why to parenting AI? I think parenting AI is also crazy, but I didn't know what does it really mean, like what what it needs to be done, like what any more ideas out there? Curated investment tool based on risk scores and trading. Agent orchestration. Yes. Let's do agent orchestration. I think that's actually good. Vinicius, right? Yeah. So, yeah, Vinicius, that is something I'm personally building. I can quickly show you. So this is the application. This is basically an agent orchestration where you can add multiple agents. You can connect to multiple channels, and you can create multiple tasks and assign it to agents. And then those agents will also complete the tasks and let you know that okay, these things are also running in parallel. And then meetings, so whatever the meetings you have with other people, it can also record all the meetings, and then based on the transcriptions of the meetings, it can create tasks automatically and assign them to agents and sub agents and complete them when you are doing nothing, right? And you can also connect to multiple MCP connectors, skills, and then there is the chat interface. I think agent orchestration is actually a good thing. I mean, I already have a mini version of that where you can add multiple agents and it does agent orchestration. But let's try to do that. Yeah. I hope for everyone it is clear what agent orchestration mean. Okay, Malatesh, no. Okay, Yuri, it's clear. Um, Vinicius, would you like to shed some light on that? Maybe a little more description on this agent orchestration? Put it in the chat, maybe. So my understanding of agent orchestration is like you create multiple agents and
Hey,
then okay.
uh, yeah, it's just a topic that I'm interested on. Recently, I got to know about Paperclip is
Paperclip, yeah.
open source solution that does that. But I think agent orchestration is something that you can also do yourself. So a nice hobby project I'm interested on building on. But you can think about different things like can work with Cloud or ChatGPT, but I especially interested in local models. So yeah, that's my interest on building this for our project.
Okay, okay. I see that maybe there are a few people for them it might be a little bit tricky. Maybe Vinicius, we can connect offline as well on this topic if you have more questions or anything. I can also maybe maybe build something similar one or simple one for now, right? Yeah. Let's take the Dutch learning website. Maybe that's the first request we got from Sister Padma. Maybe I can take that one. Maybe that's easy. So what we're gonna do is, so we will try to build a Dutch learning website. Okay. Also looking at the time. So what I'm gonna do is to build a website. First, you need to start with the design, right? So there is an option in cloud if you have a pro subscription where you have a cloud design enabled for you. So this is where you can first design your application, how your UI want, what kind of buttons you want, what should be the user flow, the user experience, and then you can export it in the form of HTML, or you can also feed that design to your cloud code and then ask it to generate the website for you. So let's do that. So let's say that Dutch website, okay, and I'm gonna create one. So just it's a prototype for now. Design, screenshot. No, I don't have any references. I hope the screen is visible. I'm gonna just make it a little bit better. Yeah. So what we want to do is create a Dutch learning website with a simple. Do we also need authentication like a login and maybe let's do create a simple Dutch learning website. No authentication. Okay. Create a Dutch learning website with no auth for English users. Maybe keep it simple in terms of user experience. And with both light and dark theme and days to track the learning, maybe something like that. And give some challenges every day to learn. Simple one, right? We can also improve this, something like that. Okay, and option for flashcards. Let's do that. Option for flashcards. Okay. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the design, right? Create the UI design. So again, this is the website design, but keep in mind that you can also do this for a full end application. You can literally build any application you want, right? Just use your creativity. There is no limit there. There are a few questions it's asking us before it wants to build it. What should I build first? A full single page app prototype, blah, blah, or I let it decide for me. So let's say that full single page, right? The better context you give to the application, the better output you get. If you ask it to decide for you, it's going to decide something, but maybe that's not what we want. And then what should be the visual vibe? Playful, friendly, calm, editorial, modern, minimal, cozy, warm. So let's go with modern and minimal. And then color, I'm gonna say that decide for me. Core features, daily challenge, flashcards, uh, phrase of the day, progress stats, blah, blah, how I want the core features to include. I say that maybe daily challenge for now. And flashcard, decide for me how to visualize, decide for me, target level, decide for me. I'm going to put everything, decide for me, decide for me. That's it. Continue. So I've given a few extra, prompts to that. So now what it is doing is it's basically trying to take all this information, right? It's taking all this information into account and it's trying to design this. And keep in your mind that the cloud design is still in a preview phase, which means they are still improving this. So there might be some hiccups here and there. And what you can also do is if you have an existing design in your system, Let's say that your application is already with certain themes, certain colors, certain formats. You can also feed that theme to design. It will take everything into account and it will build a nice and fancy design with the existing formats and themes. How many of you got experience with Figma or wireframes? Did anyone already work with Figma or any sort of wireframe applications? So you can think, yeah, Padma, you have worked. So you can think this is similar to that or a competitor to that, but you don't need to know how to design. You need to know how to prompt well, right? Yeah, yeah. Photoshop. I think Photoshop is also a good one for designing as well, right, Yuri? So I think it's doing something. Uh, what I really wanted is if it can give me a design, we put that design to cloud code and then we take a break. And while this is creating the design, I'm gonna also explain few things while the design is finished. Then we'll put this to cloud code and we take a break. By the time we come back, it already creates us a nice fancy website. I'm gonna share it, put it in the GitHub and share it with you, and then you can use it. And then we'll continue with the other concepts. So while this is working, I'm gonna share a few things here, right? So just have a little patience with me, then we take a break. So what is more important is how many inference model companies you know out there. When I say inference model companies, I'm really talking about LLM providers. So how many do you know? If you can put it in the chat. I have no idea. Like, for example, OpenAI is one. OpenAI is one. Yes, Google, OpenAI, Microsoft. Oh, Microsoft, I'm not really sure if Microsoft has its own LLM models. Yeah, Anthropic, OpenAI, yes. OpenAI, Anthropic, and Meta, Mistral, yes. And Nvidia, that's good one. Apple, Apple. I'm not really sure if Apple is on the market with its own LLM. I don't. Yeah, Grok is good. DeepSeek, yes, Kailash, DeepSeek. Chinese, of course, but still, yeah. Perplexity, I'm not really sure if Perplexity has their own LLM models. Maybe they might have worked. I don't know. Could be. Oracle, I don't know if Oracle has its own. But we're going to see in a bit. We're going to see in a bit. So I have a big list here. So I'm not sure if someone said Alibaba or not. So Quen comes from Alibaba, Moonshot AI, Zipu AI. We already discussed about Google. Someone already said Anthropic. Yeah, Oracle is building AI infrastructure. That is true. So let's say OpenAI, right? So let's quickly go through this list. OpenAI and their flagship models, GPT series, O series, right? GPT 5.5 is their latest one. And then we have Anthropic. They have Opus series, Sonnet series, and Haiku series. Haiku is the cheapest one. And then the Mythos, right? Mythos is still in preview and it's a limited access to only enterprises. They are not open to everyone or public yet. So that's the story for Anthropic. And then Google DeepMind. They have a Gemini series, 3.1 Flash series, Pro series, and Lite series, right? And then we have XAI, right? They have a Grok series, 5 and Image and 4 dot series and 5 dot series. That's a XAI company. And then we have a Meta. It's a Llama series, Mistral. They also have a small model, DeepSeek. We know DeepSeek series, Alibaba, Quen. These are also open source models. There are two types of models, right? Closed ones, which are like OpenAI, Anthropic, big ones, frontier models, very powerful, expensive, amazing models. But then you also have open source models, which are lightweight, small models, but you can set up in your local machine, like in your local computer. You can also set them up in your local phone as well. You don't need internet. They can work offline. You don't have to worry about context. You don't have to worry about tokens. You don't have to worry about pricing at all. But we're going to also install one in our machine. And then you have something called cloud hyperscalers, right? Someone said Microsoft. So Microsoft is a cloud hyperscaler because they have an exclusive contract with OpenAI, but they also have all the other models. If you want, you can also deploy them. So if I go to Azure, for instance, I think I have my own personal account. Yeah. If I go to Azure and then if you go to Azure Foundry, that's what it's called now. And then if you go to here, so here you can also set up all the models you want, right? So if you go to model catalog, then you can literally see these are all the models it has. I mean, these are all the leaderboards it has, but then you can also browse any model you want. It's very straightforward. Click on that, and then, of course, this is not available for me. So you can just click on any of the model, and then you can just deploy it, and then you can get the API key of these are the models which I've deployed for me. So API key and the endpoint of these models, and then you can use them in your applications, right? So these are called hyper scalers, cloud hyperscalers. A similar thing for AWS and also for GCP, right? The top layers, Amazon, Microsoft, Google. And then there are also something interesting which is called aggregators. So aggregators, like, Open Router. Have you heard of Open Router? Open Router is also one of the famous aggregator. Together AI, Fireworks is also famous. Replicate. So what does these aggregators they do? So let's say that if I have an AI agent, right? I have a chatbot or an AI agent, and then I need to provide an API key, right? So when I provide an API key for simple answers, for difficult answers, for any answers, it always goes to that model. But for easy answers, I don't want a good model. I just want a cheap, simple model, right? So for that, what I can do, I can go to Open Router. So it's also very straightforward. Go to Open Router, create your account, and there you can add as many as models. You can add local models, cloud models, and everything, and then you can get one API key, and then you can write your system prompt in such a way saying that, okay, for all the simple, easy tasks or requests, go to a small model, and for all the difficult and complex tasks, go to a cloud model, which is the frontier model. That way you can save some money, and that way you can also improve efficiency as well, right? So these are called aggregators or routers. Okay, so these are all the companies you have right now. You have, like, 4 companies in that space, and then you have a local or a self-hosted ones, right? So Olama, LM Studio, VLLM. So these are also like the runtime engines. So if you want to run any model locally on your computer, you cannot run them directly. You need to install either one of these, right? You need to either install Olama. This is also coming from Meta. Again, an open source runtime engine. So you basically install that, and then you connect to your model. So I already have installed Olama. So it basically looks like this, right? So it's very straightforward. Olama. You just go for Olama website, click on that, and then copy this command, and then put it in your terminal. I'm going to put the terminal here. Yeah. Put it in your terminal. By the way, before going that, I'm going to show you the configuration of my system. So I have M5 Pro, 48 gigabytes memory, and a 20 core GPU. And I'm going to also show you how this behaves, right? So this is like the performance of my machine. Just focus on this GPU part, right? So whenever I'm doing something, so if I install this, it's going to say that I already have the model installed in my machine. I'm not going to run that, so unnecessary. So once you have that installed, it's going to look something like this. And then you can download any model you want, right? Quen or Jamma or Jamma 4 series, any model, right? You can download any of these models. And wherever you see this symbol, which means they are cloud, they cannot be downloaded locally. But then all the other models, you can also download them in your local machine. So I have downloaded Jamma 4. And if I just say, how are you? Yeah. And just focus on my machine's performance, especially on the GPU and on the RAM. So RAM is already like around 70%. But if I say just how are you? And this is basically coming from my local machine. Yeah, you can see that the GPU has gone to 29% here. And this is basically running in my local machine, right? Okay, so let's go back to this one. Okay, so I think we got something here. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is what we were expecting from our application. So yes, RAM jumped from 33 to 38. That is true. That is true. In a bit, I'm going to show how that looks for Hermes and OpenClaw as well. That literally takes 90% of my RAM. But coming back to this one, so I'm not sure if this is how we wanted our application to be. So it says that and coffee krag.
Koffie, graag.
Okay, I'm not sure if you heard that, but it also gave audio as well. And learn 5 words. This is good. And begin, next word, next word, next word, next word, next word. Okay, bread is bread, and next word. Okay, so this is fine, right? So what we're going to do here is there is also dark theme, light theme, and then you have flashcards, you have progress, you have vocab. So there is no authentication for this. So now what I'm going to do with this application is I'm going to, oh yes, equivalent coffee. No, yes, we're going, done, we're going. Just a minute, just a minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, um, I want to, yeah, either you can export as a standalone HTML or you can download it as a zip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to export it as a standard HTML. So now it's exporting as a standard HTML. Okay, once this downloading is done, we take that HTML file, we feed it to Cloud Code, and then we go. Sorry for this, guys. Just a minute. I really want you to witness this live in action so that, I mean, it's not something rocket science or something, but anyways, I'm doing it so that you know it, how to do it, right? So it's basically generating all that. Okay, now it's there for us to download. Okay, so what we have done, we've asked it to generate a design for us. And then now that design is converted into an HTML file. Now I'm going to take this HTML file. Now it has been downloaded. If I click on that, you see this is how it looks, right? A simple HTML file. So what we want to do now, I'm going to take this HTML file, open my Cloud Code. This is my local Cloud Code, right? I'm going to go to Cloud Code here. I'm going to take a new session. Downloads. Yeah, Dutch learning standalone application. So I'm just giving this. Make it next JS standalone application. Yeah, I mean, I've got some experience with this Next.js React framework so that I can also add APIs and backend databases and all track the sessions and everything later on. So for now, it's basically a simple front end, but I also wanted it to create a nice Next.js standalone application. Sent. Okay, so now let's go for a break. And then while we come back, maybe, yeah, it needs some permissions and stuff like that. I'm going to do that. So let's take like a 5 minutes break and we see around 15:36 or something. Yeah. Okay. See you all in 5 minutes. Hope everyone is back or okay, back. Yeah. I think if you can quickly give me a thumbs up, then we can get started. I think because this second session is really important. I think this is where we're going to see some tools, whatever we've learned, like a little bit of basic definitions about skills, tools, MCPs, plugins, all that, the foundation which we try to build. I think those terminologies we're going to use in the tools or in the applications which we're going to see now, right? I think that is really important. So I need your utmost focus. Like just give me 20 minutes focus, then you can go back to your weekend again, nice and flashy. Okay. While this is running, because I don't want my cloud to have the full access, so that is why each and every time I'm allowing it, I'm not really reading what it is asking me. I'm just clicking on allow because it's just a test project. But if it was really a production project, I would literally read them because I know the framework of Next.js, so I know the structure. So I would just give it a little bit of instructions how I want it to develop. For now, I'm just asking it to do it. So if you look at here, right? So here you can see the context window, right? I mean, the things which are going input, output. So for now, I have a 1 million context size. I think they have increased this. Before it was 200K, if I'm not mistaken. But now I think they've increased it to 1 million, which is good, right? But you can also see that I have this pro subscription. It has a 5 hour window limit, and the more context you provide to it. So context in the sense, the more English words, right? The more English words you provide to it, the more tokens you're going to burn. The more tokens you burn, and then the more percentage of this gets finished, and then you have to wait for another 5 hours to use it or upgrade to a enterprise subscription. So I think for now this is a small project. I don't think this will have some issues. So let it run in other screen so that we can get back to our topic again. So once this is done, I'm going to show how this looks like, right? Okay, I'm gonna just keep it here so that whenever it asks me to allow or click on something, I click it. Going back to this one, I also wanted to tell one thing, that there was a paper which got released in the month of April, where it said, I think you can also read it online. It's in this website, arxiv.org. This is coming from a group of researchers saying that 98% of cloud code, which we have seen right now, is not AI. Only 2% of it is AI. The remaining everything is basically tools, guardrails, permissions, skills. It's a combination of everything. I hope you agree with this, right? Because by now you already know what these concepts are. So the LLM or the agent or the AI is just a 2%. The remaining 98 to 95% is the ecosystem which was developed around it, right? Because now, even now, when I asked it to build this application, it is running some commands. It is running some Python commands. It is running some Node.js, NPM commands. It's running some curl commands. And it's basically the ecosystem, right? And for that, they have created tools, they have created skills, they have created some permissions, they have created some sandbox environments where it can run it. So that is also very important to keep in mind when you are having discussions with someone, that the LLM model itself is not what makes wonders, right? The ecosystem behind it. Yeah. So this is also an example, like, user sends a prompt. This is like the cloud interface, and the request goes to the agent, and then the agent checks the permission, if the agent has permission to certain system or not. And if it has permission, it goes and triggers the tools. If it does not have permission, it asks for your permissions, right? For example, it is asking me a permission like this. If you see here on the screen, it is asking me if it wants to, like, for the certain command to execute or not. If I click allow, then it triggers that specific tool in the backend, and then that tool gets executed in an environment, and then response get backs to the interface. So that's basically, and the agent runs in the loop with all these actions up until it reaches or the user is satisfied. Okay. Yeah, I see that George already posted the link for this article. So it's a really good 40 pages article. If you've got some time, I would highly recommend to read it. Yeah. And coming back to these things, right? Olama is something we've already seen. Just go to the website and copy this command, download it. It's more or less the runtime engine you need so that you can install any open source model, right? You can install any open source model with that. And then where is this guy? Yeah. And then what is LM Studio? LM Studio is also more or less similar to that, right? If you look at LM Studio, not the logo, go to the LM Studio website. It is also a runtime. So there are a couple of things, right? I mean, it could be a competitor to Olama, but if you open LM Studio, you can also run AI models. You can run them locally. You can run them privately as well. And then it also supports all these open source models. You can just download them. I think I already have downloaded one for me. I'm going to just show it how it looks, right? So once you download, it's going to look like this. And I have already configured the Jamma 4, the local LLM model, which I have. But if you click on that, here you can see an interface where you can also download this. For example, Nemotron, right? This is coming from NVIDIA. The size of this model is 26 gigabytes. So if you have a very good storage and a nice RAM and a good GPU or CPUs, if you think that this your system can handle it, you can download this locally. But let's say that I don't have a good system for me to download it locally. What you can do is you can do it in your cloud, right? You can request for a VM. You can do it in a VPS as well. So what I also do is I run my OpenClaw in Hostinger. That is one of the VPS. You can choose any of the VPS so that it runs 24 by 7 to do your things. If I run it in my local machine, if I close my laptop, the model is terminated. The agent is terminated. So whatever the task it is running, it cannot do it. But if you run it in cloud or any cloud VPS, it runs 24 by 7, but you need to take this VPS subscriptions, right? So for example, I can show you the Hostinger I have. So this is my Hostinger subscription where my OpenClaw is running. And if I check for OpenClaw, I think gateway token. Yeah, so okay. So this is my OpenClaw interface, which is running in my cloud VPS, right? So which means it basically runs 24 by 7 with all the agent configuration. You can also run it locally in your machine. We're going to see that in a bit, but this is how you can run it continuously, right? And coming back to the LM Studio, right? So here you can also choose whichever model you want. So then you ask me that, okay, so Vinod, then what is the difference between Olama and LM Studio? For me, same, no difference. It's up to you because LM Studio is something which is become very recently out there. But let's say there are very tiny features where there is a little bit of differentiation. But if you're comfortable with Olama, go with Olama. No, I want to start with LM Studio, go with LM Studio, right? And one other interesting thing is, I think here, I guess. Yeah. So if you go to LM Studio and click on local server, you can see this port HTTP 127. So what does it mean? It means that your studio with Gemma 4 model is running in this port. So you can use this port, feed it to Cloud Code or feed it to Codex or feed it to any of the tools which are using. Then Cloud Code will be using this model, not the cloud model. So which means it will be using your local model. I hope it makes sense, right? Yeah, you can also give it to VS Code as well. Yes, Yuri, you are right. You are right. So which means it will also support tooling as well. Correct. So let's say now here, if I'm asking hi, and then I want to show you how my GPU reacts, right? Because this is also a local running model. And if I click on that, here you can see how the tokens are being used. For now, it's like 467, right? 88% is left. It's just giving me that the size of my local model is this and these many tokens which are used both input and output. And if you look at this one, the GPU has spiked up, the RAM has spiked up, the GPU has spiked up for simple chat saying just hi. So it's very important, right? Because local models are amazing. But if you try to feed your entire code repository to the local model and ask it to fix some error or ask it to build something fancy, it might exceed the context size. It might exceed the context size and it might not be able to give you a response saying that it might throw an error, right? So that is why we also still need the cloud providers if you have a very big project. Okay, so this is all about Olama LM Studio. VLLM is also something similar, so it's not needed for us to go for it. So Gemma 4 is something we've already seen, right? You can just directly download it from Olama or from LM Studio. Or let's say that you just wanted to check for Gemma, you can also, I did it from Olama, but you can also read it in the Google DeepMind what Gemma 4 is and what this model provides, right? If you're more interested in that. And coming back to this, now let's talk about coding agents. So what are coding agents, right? I think many of us who are in this call, including myself, we all come from IT background. I mean, we are still working in IT background, right? And for us, what is more interesting is not reading emails or not sending emails because we do less of that, but more of programming. So what I am interested is I wanted a coding agent which can code on behalf of me. It can be a Databricks pipeline, it can be ADF pipeline, or it can be infrastructure YAML file, or it can be Java code, Python code, Golang, C Sharp, .NET. I mean, what else we have? Any of it, right? Any of it. So let's say any of that which I'm using in my project. So I wanted my coding agents to do that task. So there are a couple of coding agents which you can use. Did any one of you use Codex like in your machine? Codex? No. Okay, Shravan, I see you used it. So Codex is coming from OpenAI. It is also you can also integrate with your a local model as well. So if you just type Codex, code not Codex logo. So just type a Codex. Codex is basically a coding agent, right? So it's very straightforward. You can just download it for Mac OS, right? I think in my case, I've already downloaded it. I'm going to open it for you. So once you download Codex, it's pretty simple. Just go to Codex and type Codex. Okay, so it's asking for sign in with ChatGPT, sign in with device, sign in with your own API key. Okay, what we're going to do is instead of doing it from here, I'm going to terminate this. Let's do it from Olama, right? So you can also do it from Olama as well. So if you go to Olama, so here you can also launch Codex. So copy this one and go to new window, right? So don't worry about how to follow these steps and all. Try to understand the concept, right? What command it is needed, where to go, which that is something you can figure it out later as well. So what is more important is try to understand what Codex does. So if I try to launch Olama Codex, so here what I can do is I can already use my Gemma 4 model, which has been already installed locally, right? So I'm going to just select that. And now I have OpenAI Codex connected to my local Gemma 4 model. So which means Codex is a software with a combination of all the tools we discussed, right? And it needs a brain. And the brain is Gemma 4. And Codex already comes with all the tools. And Codex is also an open source. It also has an enterprise version. It also has an open source version. So it is coming from OpenAI. It has both the versions. So what I'm doing is I have used Olama to install Codex and I have fed Gemma 4 as an LLM backend model. And now I can just say, so now what you can do is you can just, of course, say hi and see if it is working or not, just to see if it is giving you response or not. And you can also see my RAM is spiked, my GPU is spiked, right? I think it's going to take, yeah, you see, it's extremely gone out because it has to trigger all the tools, it has to go through all the skills, it has to go through all of them in the loop to get back with the response. Here it says, hi, how can I help you? Okay, so this is good, but what I really want to do is I want to feed a code repository to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open another window, and in this window, pwd, okay, then let's go to my own project. Okay, own projects, ls. Okay, so here what we're going to do is, okay, so the Dutch learning folder is something which got created by Cloud Code. I mean, that is still running. So what we can do is we can go to this Clawbuddy. So go to that guy. So Clawbuddy is also a project. I can also show you how that looks. So if you go to this guy here, own projects, Clawbuddy, you can see this has all my Next.js project repository, right? All the folders, all the stuff and everything. So what I want is I want to go to the Clawbuddy now. Yeah, go here. And also there is one more folder, Clawbuddy. Yeah. So here, if you see ls, you see you have all these files, right? These are all coming from my project. Next.js project, any technical project. It could be a Java project, it could be Python project, it could be any project. It doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch Codex here. Where is that command? So I'm going to take this command and I'm going to go there and I'm going to launch it there. Here. And it's going to ask for a model. It is asking, do you trust the contents of this directory? Yes, I'm going to trust it. Yeah, so now I have fed this whole project to my Codex and now I can literally program or I can improve the code. I can ask about this code. I can fix the bugs of this code. I can literally do anything. I can just ask, explain the project, right? And what this is doing, it's going to read all the files inside this claw body, right? Whatever the project it is, and it is going to give me the explanation. See, it is triggering some tools, right? List, ls, hef. It is one of the tool because it's coming from file MCP. It has triggered a tool. It is running a tool now. Now it has taken everything into account. But this is running locally in my machine without costing a single token, without costing a single rupee, right? Because if I do the same thing in cloud code, the context window exceeds and here, if you see my cloud code, the context window is going up, the 5 hour limit is going up, I have to pay for the subscription. But now I'm doing that locally in my machine, right? So it basically gave me the explanation. So it gave me that this project is this, it is core functionality, this is the architecture of the project, this is the setup of the project. It literally explained me everything of this project. It is also telling that the user can access the dashboard with this command, blah, 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 right? So this is how you can do it. So that is all about Codex. So what is this Pi agent? So Pi coding agent is also similar to Codex, but this is completely open source and new guy on the market, right? So this is kind of a competitor to Codex, but it has some additional tools, it has some additional skills, and it does not have any enterprise option at all. Codex has both enterprise and open, but Pi agent is completely open source, built by open source community as well. So pi.dev. It's very simple, very straightforward, built by an engineer for engineers, right? So how does this work? You just install it again. I'm going to quickly also show that Pi AI Agent. So I have already installed it. It's again a single command, right? Once you install, you just type Pi and that's it. And now the Pi is running in this machine, right? If I say hi, you see how quick the response was. If you looked at the comparison of Codex with Pi, you look at the performance, right? Because it did not trigger all the tools, all the skills needed only for hi message. Whereas for Codex, it has to go through all the list of ecosystem to give me the response, even though the model is local. Even this is also taking the local Olama Jama 4 model. Does it make sense? In terms of performance, I prefer Pi. Pi is also a coding agent, right? So what I can do is I can go to my folder. So let's open again. Let's open another command, right? Let's open another window. So here, what we do is we go to the same folder. Here, WON, own projects, CD, claw body, CD, claw body. Okay, so now I'm in this project. So here I'm going to trigger Pi agent. Okay, so for triggering a Pi agent, I just need to type Pi. That's all. So type Pi. Perfect. So now I am in this project. Okay, so now if I try to ask, explain me about the project, look at the performance, right? Look at the performance. It literally, it's basically running. I mean, I'm not sure if you've already noticed the difference, right? And also the way it represents the response compared to the Codex agent, the Pi is amazing. You can also compare this with Cloud Code CLI. So we have seen Codex, we have seen Pi. Well, let's also see Codex, right? I think let it run. So if you Codex Cloud Code also has an open source version as well, right? So here we are running. This is the Cloud Code on the user interface. But if you also want to run it in a terminal interface, that is also possible. How can I do that? Again, go to Olama. Here you have a cloud, right? Copy this command and go to new window. Again, let's do this. CD, CD, yeah. So now we are in the cloud body and now I'm going to launch cloud code, right? So again, it's asking for the model. Yeah. Again, explain me the project, right? Look at this guy's performance. I mean, cloud code is also a heavy software. It also comes with we discussed, right? It comes with what? It comes with all this stuff. So this is literally cloud code. It comes with all the tools, all this software. The software comes with all this jargon, right? So to execute even a simple prompt, it has to go through all this. See, it's still running. It's slower than Codex, and there is no comparison with Pi at all. So you also need to keep all these things in mind when you're working, because at the end of the day, performance is what matters, right? And these things are also quickly changing. What is the difference between launching Cloud Code directly in a CLI through Olama? I mean, Olama already is been configured with LLM model, but if I launch Cloud Code CLI directly, I have to configure it explicitly. So just to avoid that extra step of configuring the LLM model, I have launched it from Ola. So that's the difference. Again, it's running, and I don't know if you can hear. You look, I don't have enough context to explain the project. I don't know if it understood what I'm trying to say it or not. But anyways, brute for 1.3 minute 3 seconds. Okay. Let's go back. I'm not sure if you can hear the sound, but I can hear the sound of my machine crying. I want to see what is happening with this. See, the RAM is already 41, right? And the GPU slowly it's coming down. So the best thing to do right now is to terminate all these windows, or else my video will also get stuck. I'm going to just terminate them to save. But at least now you have got an understanding about how to use these coding agents, I hope. And yeah, so let's get into the important topic for the day is OpenClaw, Hermes, and NemoClaw. This goes in a single shot, right? So if I have to also remove these things, I'm gonna just close some tabs here so that I empty some space. I'm going to close this one, close this one, close this one as well. Okay. Okay, I think the RAM should come down slowly because I have closed all those windows which were giving the trouble for me. Okay, so now if you go to OpenClaw, right? So let's see what OpenClaw says. Not this one. Go to OpenClaw documentation. So if you click on OpenClaw, the OpenClaw says that the AI that actually does things for you, right? So whatever we discussed so far, everything combined in one place is OpenClaw. As simple as that, because we've seen coding agent, we've seen tools, we've seen skills, uh, uh, we've seen open source, we've seen so everything can be combined in one place, and that is called OpenClaw. And here the definition from the creator says that an AI that does things for you, right? And what does it mean? It's very simple. If you go to the documentation, if you click on install, there are a couple of commands. For Mac, you can just use this command to install. For Windows, there is another command, but I've already installed this, right? So you don't have to do it. And if I open my terminal, I'm going to also show that how it looks. Yeah. This is the OpenClaw, and I want to again, even with OpenClaw, you can chat with the CLI, right? The moment you type OpenClaw, it comes with this CLI. But I was also looking for local host. I think just a second. Yeah, this is the one. Hope this is visible. So once you install the OpenClaw, you can also access the user interface in this thing. I mean, once you install, it will also give you the option. And you can see that I have also set up the Gemma 4 again. So what I'm doing is I have installed an open source LLM model in my machine, and I'm using it for everything. I'm using it for Codex agents. I'm using it for OpenClaw. I'm using it for everything, right? So it's a very nice interface, right? It's also pretty much straightforward. Once you install this, you can just play around with it, right? So here, if you ask anything, it does something for you. But before going that, you can see here you have all the overview. You can also configure different channels. I have configured a Telegram channel. So what does it mean? It means that I have a mobile phone here. Again, this is my second mobile phone. And if I open a Telegram, right? So in the Telegram, in my mobile phone, I can literally connect to my OpenClaw, which I've already done, and I can chat with it, right? So here you see, here you have a two Vinod Bovi ID. So this is coming from my Telegram. This is my main chat. So when you do the installation, it will also ask you how you want to connect. You can connect to WhatsApp, you can connect to Telegram, you can connect to Discord, you can connect to multiple channels, right? And then you don't need a computer. If your OpenClaw is already running 24/7, you can use your device or application in your device to interact with it, right? So for example, here I can ask, what is the weather in Auton? By the way, I live in Auton. Today, right? So I'm just asking what is the weather in Auton today. And again, this is everything is open source technology, guys. OpenClaw is open source. The local LLM model is open source. Telegram is also open. Everything is free. I didn't pay a single penny for that, right? I just asked this question. See, I sent a question and it come here, right? And now it is trying to fetch the response. So to check the weather in Authon, I think it has to do certain things. And in terms of performance, right now it is connected to the local LLM model. So it takes some time, of course. So that is the drawback, but it gives you the response. So to fetch the data of the weather for today, it has to do certain tool calling. But while this is running, I can show you. I asked, what is the temperature in India? It did some tool search, right? Query weather in India. Then it did some tool search. But here also you can see what is the weather. It is doing some tool calling. It is running some curl method. And then it is saying that, okay, the weather in Authon today is 15 degrees, right? And if you look at this agent, so that is how you can also integrate with different channels and use it. But if you look at this agent, there are a couple of options, right? So I'm going to skip all that for now. If you look at the agents, there are a couple of things. So one thing, you can set up agents identity, soul, tools, identity, user, heartbeat, bootstrap. So this is how you can set up your agent to make an agent to do certain tasks, right? Each and every .md file could be the representation of an agent. So for example, here in the identity, if I click on preview, you can set this identity for this agent saying that, okay, so you are an email agent and this agent will only focus on sending emails, receiving emails, so that the personality is already defined. So that is how you can define that. Okay. And skills, I think by now skills are something, no new concepts for you. So I'm going to skip that. So all these skills are by default installed for us, right? And then you can also run this in different nodes. So right now there is only one device which is paired, but let's say there are multiple devices. You can also pair it to this, right? And then a couple of configurations and all, which are not required for now in this discussion. So now the question is, so we know this is good, right? There should be one other thing which I wanted to show is tools. Okay, so tools. So here you can see that all these tools are also enabled by default. See, for web, there are three tools enabled: web fetch, web search, search. For memory, there are two tools enabled: for UI, for messaging. But then you ask me a question that, Vinod, if I want to use this in my organization where I don't want it to give access to internet, right? How can I do that? Because right now it has access to internet, right? Because the web search tool is already enabled by default. It is enabled, and there are also certain things we do not have control. So what you need to do is you need to set up OpenClaw in a sandboxed environment. So that is where you have NemoClaw, which comes into play. If you search for this, Again, this is also pretty self-explanatory, but what is more important is if I look at this architectural overview, so this is how it looks like. So it is also already installed in my machine. I can show you how it looks, but looking at the time, I think we're already past the time. But try to understand. If someone asks you a question that OpenClaw can go crazy because it has access to everything, how to control it? The answer for that question is NemoClaw. Why NemoClaw? Because when you try to install NemoClaw, it installs something called OpenShell Sandbox. Again, what is OpenShell Sandbox? OpenShell Sandbox is also an open source technology developed by NVIDIA company. And what this does, if you look at this architecture, right, it basically creates a sandboxed environment, right? So if you know what virtualization, if you know what Docker images, Docker containers, right? Because it is basically an image or a container completely sandboxed. It does not have access to outside network, outside files, outside internet. So when you try to install NemoClaw, it also installs this OpenShell architecture, which means this is completely sandboxed and OpenClaw is installed inside this. So if you want to connect to internet, if you want to connect to any network, if you want to access any folder or any file, you need to explicitly provide approvals or else it will not work. I think it makes sense, right? Because that is what we want to avoid. We don't want our OpenClaw to do anything because if I ask OpenClaw to go and update its own configuration, it can also do it, right? So I would highly recommend, guys, because it does not need a heavy system to be used. Just go ahead and install OpenClaw and try to play around with it. Maybe go to AI Studio. If you go to AI Studio, you can create a free Google account, and there you can fetch some free API keys. If you don't have a cloud or if you don't have a good laptop, get some API keys, set it up here, and use OpenClaw and try to experience how this works, right? And then you can also understand what are the challenges we have with OpenClaw. And then there is another guy in the market, which is called Hermes. So the one problem with OpenClaw is all the skills needs to be explicitly installed. So what does it mean? For example, here in Claw Hub, you have a big list of skills, right? And if I go to OpenClaw also here, where is my OpenClaw? If you go to here by default, okay, not this one. Maybe it's the other window. Yeah, here. So if I go to here, it already has all these skills installed, right? If I want to install any custom skill, what I need to do, I need to go to Claw Hub, and then I need to install the skill. And whenever you install the skill, it will only work for that specified activity. It will not self-improve. But you see, there is already one guy who has created a self-improving agent, and there are like 430K. But there is another player in the market, which is called Hermes AI Agent, which does improving itself automatically, right? And that's called Hermes. Okay, so I also have this running in my VPS. So this is the dashboard, how it looks. You can also install this locally as well. And if you look at the user interface, it's more or less the same, right? It's same. You also have skills. If you look at the skills here, okay, let's, if I go to software development, you see these are all the skills you have for software development. And if I go to data science, there is a skill of Jupyter. If I go to DevOps, there is a skill. Autonomous AI agent. So you can literally install the cloud code skill. I mean, okay, disabled. So by default, it's already installed. It has already these 4 skills installed. So which means whenever you use Hermes agent, it already comes with all these skills and it automatically evokes the skill based on user requirement. You don't have to say anything. If I want to use Codex, I want to set up Codex and give it instructions to use Codex. If I want to use Cloud Code, I have to open Cloud Code and use it so that everything goes to Cloud Code. But in this case, I don't have to explicitly mention that go to Codex, go to Cloud Code, go to Open Code. No. Just say your requirements. Hermes will automatically decide where it needs to send your request. And based on that skill, it will perform the action and give you the response back, right? So fully autonomous. So this is called like fully autonomous. But what is the difference between OpenClaw and Hermes? I think there should be an example. Yeah. So where is this guy? Okay. I think yeah. So Hermes versus OpenClaw, right? Skills ecosystem. So OpenClaw has a big ecosystem, right? And it has a Claw Hub where everyone is adding the skills, and whatever the skills you have in Claw Hub can only be used by OpenClaw. Whereas for Hermes, so you need to think OpenClaw as a horizontal component where you can add multiple skills manually, whereas Hermes is like a vertical component where it only has few skills, but it improves that skills automatically based on your usage. Every time you use Hermes, it improves the skill, and it performs better with the next iteration. But for OpenClaw, the skill is static. Every time you use it, it doesn't improve, it's just a static. But for Hermes, it improves. So that is a big difference. And if I can show you, okay, so this is OpenClaw. For now, I'm going to close it. I'm going to show you. So Hermes installation is also very straightforward. You can just, once the installation is done, you just say Hermes TUI, terminal user interface, and then it will open this Hermes agent, and you can see that all the available tools, these are all the tools like for browser, for code, for cron job, and it also has all the available skills, right? And then you see here, it's using Gemma 4 latest model. Hello world. And then it's going to respond back as well. But if you look at the performance, I think it's also a bit slow because it has to go through all the tools and skills, and based on that it needs to respond back, but it's taking time. Okay. What I also wanted to share is if you go to Hermes, there is also very good documentation, of course. So there is something called Kanban in Hermes, and that is something they have added recently. So what does it mean? I think I just wanted to show that, and with that, we're going to close the session for today. Just the Kanban part for Hermes. So if I type Hermes, okay, so here I said hello world, and then it started thinking for 1 minute 32 seconds to give me the response, right? Let's open a new tab. Then here, Hermes dashboard maybe. Yeah. So this is the Hermes which is running locally. Okay. So what I really wanted to focus here is there is something which they have added very recently, like last 3-4 days before, which is called Kanban. So how many of you know what Kanban is? If people are working in Agile, they would know what Kanban, what Agile, what, yeah, I think Albert. Yeah, so Kanban is basically, if I click on Kanban, it shows to do, ready, in progress, blocked, done, right? And guys, this is actually an amazing game changer coming from the open source community, right? So if I create a task in triage or put it in to do and assign it an agent, it automatically does things and runs in the background, right? And assigns, I mean, you can assign the agent. You can create multi agents. So here you can create multi agents, right? Coding agent, testing agent, a document agent, podcast creator agent, YouTube video creator agent. It could be any agent. You can create multiple agents and then come to Kanban, and then you can add a new task here. For example, write a story on murder, for example. I'm just thinking out loud, right? And then if you create on that, and then here you can also assign it to some guy, researcher. You can set up a priority for this, and then you can specify. And then based on the worker nodes which are running in my laptop, because it is pretty slow, you see it automatically went to the ready right here. If I click on this, it shows that draft a story mystery centered on a murder investigation, and it also gave me the goal, the approach, the acceptance criteria, everything, right? So then I can also comment here to also, like, give me a description or give me a storyline or give me a PDF. It can do things for you on your behalf. This is just an example, but you can also create multiple tasks like this and assign agents to it, and they run in the background automatically for you. You don't have to do anything, right? So this is Hermes for you. So I think with that said, I know it's a very lengthy, because I think yeah, it took some time for us to go through this. I couldn't show the installation, but the installation is the easy one, right? You can just go through it, run the command, these things gets installed. Maybe you don't need all of this, but in my machine, I already have all of this. So I was able to show them to you. But at least now you know what is happening out there, right? You know what is happening out there, what kind of coding agents are there, what kind of technology is coming out there, open source, closed source, right? All these things. And one thing I want to show before ending, which is this, like, everyone is fighting on this AI war. We don't know who is going to win. But what is more important is, if a world had 1,000 people, very less percentage of people are really getting to know what AI is and the different use cases. Rest everyone are still scratching the surface, like using just ChatGPT and stuff like that. So if you already dedicated 2 or 2.5 hours on Sunday to know things like this, I think you're already, I'm not saying that this is a competition or a race or something, but it's already good that you're putting your effort, you're being aware, you're being conscious, you know what is going to happen, these things are needed to be learned, right? So it is really good that you're already putting yourself out there. So congratulations on that, and hope this session was useful. I'm not really sure how many people are still there because I wasn't really keeping a track on the count. But thank you so much for patiently waiting. Let me see, where do we stand with this project? Okay, so this project is still running, I think. But once this project is done, I'm going to also push this to a Git repository and also share it as well. Are there any questions anyone wants to ask? I know it's already 20 minutes past, but if people want to leave, feel free. But I think Asha is going to share a quick link to share your feedback, so that it also helps us to improve, to know how I can improve, how we can improve these sessions moving forward. So if you can just share your feedback, I would highly appreciate that. And thank you for your time. And if people who still have some questions and would like to ask some questions, I think you can unmute yourself and throw your questions at me if you still have some energy. But I have lots of energy. So if you have any questions, unmute yourself. Feel free to ask. I don't bite, by the way. I don't bite.
Hey, Vinod, Kailash here.
Hey, Kailash.
Uh,
Hi. You're still
hey,
there. Thank
yeah,
you.
I'm still there. Someone called me, but I'm still here. Uh, Quick question, like, where does, because I hear like open code as well,
Hmm.
like these days. So where does it fit in all these things? Is it like kind of running things on open source for yourself, or?
Open code, open source AI coding agent. Honestly speaking, I haven't explored this, but
Okay.
yeah, I think it's also similar to the Pi agent or Codex or
Mhm.
Cloud Code CLI, more or less similar to that. It fits in that circle here.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think we saw some coding agents, right? I think it fits somewhere there. But don't ask me which one to use when, because it totally depends, because these are all competitors to each other, right? There might be a slight feature which has improvement on one tool, which has a disadvantage, very slight difference, but it totally depends on which is feasible for you to use.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And another one, for example, you showed me, I mean, you showed us the running from local versus, like using this cloud AI or something. What are the other factors like for a company to go for them other than cost? Is it
Security.
okay.
Because if you use Cloud or OpenAI or anything, whenever you're using that in your organization, the data is already going to the cloud, which means to
Mm-hmm.
their data centers. And
Mm-hmm.
if you come from public domain or health sector or banking or financial institute, especially GDPR in place within Europe, it's a bit tricky, right? I don't know how they
Yeah.
make these contracts. So that is why companies are still hesitant to give
Okay.
access to these tools for larger crowds. One, not everyone knows how these work, right? Sometimes they can also go crazy. Second, security.
Mm-hmm.
Third, the data privacy. So that is why companies are moving towards local data centers now again. From cloud, they are going back to again data centers to set up local models with the local network infrastructure so that the data remains within the organization like a sandbox, which is like a
Okay.
Nemo class setup, which we
Mm.
saw, right? Yeah.
But the accuracy and all still it will be same, right? Like compared to the
No, accuracy will not be same because it also
okay.
depends, right? Because like I mentioned, all these big models or frontier models. So to develop a GPT 5.5, it takes around 500 million to 2 billion euros or dollars. So these are very expensive models, but the open source models are cheap models. So it depends, right? So there is also a workaround for that. So in Nemo Claw, there are three things. Maybe this is also something which I did not mention, I guess. So I can show just a second. So you can do you can do network segregation in three different levels when it comes to Nemo Claw. Let me see if it is here already. Not here. I think it was in the other window, I guess. Yeah, here. So if you look at this one, right? So what you can do is, so you can create a sandbox environment, and you have inference, routing, you have a network policy, you have file system isolation. So which means think it like that everything has been isolated. So no access to outside. What you can do is you can install a local model here, and then you can have a cloud model outside. So for simpler tasks, it can go to local model, and for complex tasks, it can go to cloud. And also for all the company sensitive information, first it goes to local model, and all the sensitive information get masked in the local model, and only the context goes to cloud model for more intelligence, and everything comes back and goes back to the user. Makes sense? So for example, like BSN number, or for IBAN number, or for client data or health data. So those things can stay in local environment with local model. They get masked, and only the context goes to the cloud. So you can do a combination of local plus cloud, both. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more questions from anyone? Anyone else?
Hi, I do have one question.
Who's
Thank you
this
so much for
speaking?
the. It's Malitesh here.
Malitesh. Hi. Yes.
Hi. Yeah, this is really good presentation and good learning for me. I am from the database background. I'm a senior DBA.
Hmm.
So just want to know from you, like from the same learning path. So what is better for me to learn and where do I need to focus? Because like what are these all things this more related to the development and other activity, but when it comes to the actual database side, so can you please brief me on that aspect?
Yeah, sure. I think the roles moving forward are also going to change, right? So
Yeah,
now we have, like, database engineer, data engineer, software engineer, front end engineer, back end engineer, UX, UI, data analyst, business analyst, product owner, scrum master, solution architect. So there are multiple roles which were defined because they were dedicated for that dedicated piece of work. But now AI coming into the picture, now anything can be done by anyone, right? So I think the roles will also evolve. If you ask what kind of roles will be in future, the answer is I don't know because these things are also changing pretty fast. But what I can anticipate is there will be uh, one or two roles, like product engineers, where means they'll be responsible for building all the product in, out, everything, or AI engineers to set up everything, or platform or infra engineers to set up the data centers, to set up all the configuration for these AI agents. So something like infrastructure related work will be there, where it'll be network security and all that stuff. And then product engineers will be there, where they'll be building more and more products. And then AI engineers will be there to act bridge between product engineers and infra engineers. So I think the evolution will be in that direction, where the roles will also be changing. But now, only if you want to focus only on the database related thing or data engineering related thing, I think it'll be tricky. I would suggest to broaden your horizon, broaden your scope. Try to learn the tools and also try to play with them. And, you know, yeah, that would be my suggestion. I know it's a little bit tricky because I
Yeah,
also come from a different background.
just to be like frank and honest with you, see, from DBA background. So if I start to go and ask someone like in my company, I want to build a model, I want to build an application, I will not get that opportunity because
Yeah.
it's nowhere linked to my stuff. But keeping the future ahead, definitely we'll learn different more, all the learning things. That's really good. But as with career growth, from the database point of view, what I need to focus, what I need to learn, that I want to understand. One this is the same thing. Before asking you, in fact, I put same question to the all this ChatGPT and Gemini and all. So
What did it answer?
one common answer came is like Vertex DB is going to be incorporated in most of this AI in the future. So getting more hands on a Vertex DB is far better. That's what the summary
What?
I
Vertex
got.
DB.
Yeah, Vertex DB. It is there in one of the presentation. You
Oh,
have shown
vector
that
DB, you mean?
vector DB. Yeah,
Oh,
vector
yeah, yeah,
DB.
vector. Yes, yes, yes. So, yeah, vector DB. Yeah, you are right. I think because, now all the data, they want to vectorize them and store them in the vector DB. Yeah. So, for immediate upskilling, I would say focus on the vector DB configuration, admin related to vector DB, how you can do it. But in a long run, I would also suggest to focus little bigger picture. Yeah.
Hmm.
For now, you can, yeah, definitely you can focus on vector DB. I think for next few years, the vector DB projects will still be there. But Maltesh, at the end of the day, if your organization decides something else, we cannot stop them, right?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's purely based on that only.
Correct,
So,
correct.
is there learning for something for vector DB from your knowledge point of view?
Vector DB, I would start from PG Vector. PG Vector is an extension for Postgres SQL database. So
Mm-hmm.
you can locally set it up. It's also an open source database as well. If you have a Postgres database locally, you can use it, or you can create a free account in Supabase, and you can also use the cloud PG Vector for free. You will get few credits, then play around
Okay.
with it, get used
Mm-hmm.
to it, and then you can propose this to your organization as well. PG Vector.
Yeah,
I would
I do
start
have
from that.
multiple. Yeah, since I'm the DBA managing all different flavors, so Oracle, PSQL, MySQL, and all. Yeah, I can
Perfect.
yeah, definitely explore on that. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Please, guys, fill the feedback. It would really help. Are there any more questions from anyone?
Hey,
Could
yes,
you
I have
tell me.
one
Oh, yeah,
last
sorry.
question? Sorry. Could you
Eh,
please share the presentation and this recording for the
Definitely,
future reference, whatever?
definitely,
Thank
definitely.
you so much.
First, I will send the tiki. Are you from Netherlands, Maltesh?
No, I am from India, Bengaluru.
Okay, okay. So then you will not understand the joke. I was just joking. I will send you the recording and also
Okay,
the
sure.
the
Mm-hmm.
documentation. I have your mail address. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Thank
Thanks.
you for tuning in.
Yeah.
Was
I
it
have a
Daryl?
question as well.
Oh
Yeah,
yes, Daryl.
yeah,
You're from
thanks.
Rabobank, right?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
also from
true.
Rabobank. I think we should meet once in the office.
Yeah, that's that. So that was going to be my first question. Like, let's meet up
Yes,
because I
we will.
actually have a lot of things I would like to discuss with you. And I guess for everyone else as well, like, do you have like a website or a social media account, like somewhere we can go to like dive deeper? Because you went really like in the breadth of things, let's say, like and horizontally. But if we want to dive a little bit deeper on specific areas, where can we find more information about that you're sharing?
Oh, that I am sharing. I think first thing you can do is connect me via LinkedIn and then send me a message in Teams, and I can share you more details there. Yeah.
Okay, cool. But I will reach out. Awesome, man. Great presentation.
Thank you, Daryl. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions?
Yeah, this is Venkat. I work for Tata Steel.
Hi,
So
Venkat.
I
Yes.
thanks for sharing this very useful session for us.
Hopefully it
Uh,
was not boring. I know
no,
two
it was
hours was
very
intensive.
very good. I think at least concepts are clear for me.
Mhm.
So I'm into actually project management, but we are looking for certain tools which will help in our test automation. Are
Mm.
there any kind of AI tools which will help us, or maybe easily customizable for the test automation? Because we work in the transformation side.
Like when you say transformation, are you talking about data transformation or a digital transformation?
Application transformation that we do. So
Okay.
a lot of mainframe applications are there. We are transforming to market-based products.
Like migrating
Yeah,
from
migrating and
mainframe
transform.
to SaaS applications, you mean?
It's not exactly the like a same, but it is more about like the way of working is changing, and they are going more standardized and uniform product-based application. Like
Okay.
they have a ERP own customized, but going to SAP, that
Yeah.
itself is a transformation.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we are looking for certain test automation tools which can help us uh, re-execute and connect multiple environment like Oracle database, connect to mainframe, connect to other local own databases as well, like SQL, something like that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So for that, what you can do is you can create a test automation environment and create some agents to do all the testing autonomously.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if there are like any ready-made tools which are available to do this functionality. I
Okay.
mean, we need to customize one of these agents. For example, you can use a Py coding agent to run in a dedicated environment to execute all the test scripts. It will generate the test scripts. If it is a UI testing, it will do the UI testing for you. If it is a code testing or a script testing, or if it is just regression testing, right? Because you are
Mhm.
migrating from mainframe to
Mhm.
other, you want to make sure everything is working as expected. It will
Yeah.
also do all the regression testing based on the use cases which you provide.
Yeah.
So, but you need to set up a little bit of customization on this. Like you need to maybe create one or two skills that, okay, so do this based on these use cases, test cases, write all the test cases in Excel sheet or somewhere, feed it to the system, and it can automate and run. I think this is very straightforward project,
Okay.
Venkat. It can be possible, but you need a little bit because you say that you're not from a non-coding background, right? A product manager.
Yeah.
A little bit of assistance, I think it is possible. I'm not sure in your organization if there are engineers who are capable to do this, but if there are any questions, you can send me an email or connect me to an engineer. I can also give some inputs to him or her. That is also possible. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah. But long answer short, it is possible. I think
It's
you
fun.
can do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Tommy, also from Rabobank. Just
Hey,
wanted to
Tommy.
ask,
I know you. I know you. And I know you know me. Right?
really?
Come on. Okay.
Yeah. So what is your go-to orchestration platform or just tool?
My go-to orchestration platform?
Or just any kind of agentic tool? Because now we reviewed quite a few, but what's your personal favorite?
OpenClaw.
Okay.
This is my personal favorite. because if you see maybe it's good just to show it why it is my personal favorite. You see how many stars it has? 370K, which means these guys are actively contributing. The community is active, people are using it extensively, and now OpenAI is also one of the sponsors for OpenClaw, which means there is a lot of investment also going in here. So I think this is growing pretty quick. I know the Hermes is also giving a tough competition to this, but this is also standing out because there are so many open source skills out there which I can automatically install. I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to create them. So for me, orchestration, OpenClaw, there is none out there. OpenClaw is the guy or the girl, whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah,
Hermes, in the
nice.
other hand, also has a different use case where it will act as my personal assistant agent. It will learn about my thing, but OpenClaw like an orchestrator, like a horizontal orchestrator.
Fair enough. And don't you think this new thing that Hermes is doing will be integrated in OpenClaw eventually?
It will. I think you already seen that, right? In Claw Hub, there was a self-improving agent skill.
Yeah.
So people are working, and whatever the Kanban board which I showed in Hermes, I think, trust me, in week or two, that will also be available in OpenClaw. If not, I will work myself to make it available. I'm a fan of
Nice.
OpenClaw. Yeah.
And so that's the orchestrator. But what about the actual LLM you are using in OpenClaw? What's your go-to?
Currently, with my system configuration, I'm in a huge love with Gemma 4.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's from Google DeepMind, right? So that is good. It doesn't mean that I don't trust Chinese models. I do, but I don't. So I use Gemma 4 model.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you very much. And I hope we will connect in the bank as
Yes.
well.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Tommy, for joining. Yeah. I hope that is it, I guess, if there are no more questions. So I hope you also filled in that feedback form, which also helps me. I'm not sure, Asha, if you can share again in the chat. Okay, then thanks everyone for joining and for being there continuously for more than 2.5 hours, for your patience, for all those amazing questions, for the interactions, and hope it was helpful. And hopefully we're also trying to do these sessions more and more often in future as well, because this technology is changing. Today, what we've learned, maybe next week there will be something new. So taking everything into consideration, we'll also try to come up with more concise session. And definitely I need to work on my timing because 2 hour session exceeding 40 minutes, that's not good. That's not good for me. That's not good for you. So I will take that already as a feedback and focus it for the next time to concise and to keep it into the time which we have planned for. And now I wish everyone a nice weekend and see you all in the next session. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.